Sometimes you see someone every day, they become a part of the scenery, and sometimes that scenery is heartbreaking. In our town, that was him. A man on a bench, always the same bench, near the old oak tree in the park. He was a veteran. We knew that much, and he was homeless. That was obvious too. He was a shadow. A whisper of a man, rough around the edges. His eyes held a storm that never seemed to break. We called him John, though no one knew if that was his real name. He never spoke. Not to us, anyway. Our town is a kind place. People tried to help. Oh, how they tried. The mayor himself went down there once, offered him a place in the shelter. John just stared right through him, said nothing. The mayor left, looking defeated. Mrs. Henderson, who bakes the best pies, would leave him food. Warm soup in winter. Sandwiches in summer. He'd wait until she was gone. Sometimes he ate it. Sometimes the squirrels got it. She never knew. She just kept trying. Social workers came. They spoke gently, offered resources, blankets, counseling. He'd just turn his head away. A wall of silence. A fortress of pain. It was like he didn't want help, or maybe he thought he didn't deserve it. We felt for him. We really did, but we were also frustrated. Helpless. What more could we do? He just wouldn't let anyone in. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. John became a fixture. A sad, silent landmark. We almost got used to him. Almost. Then there was Lily. Lily was a little girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old. She had bright, curious eyes and a smile that could melt an iceberg. I'd see her walking through the park with her mom, and every time she'd stop, she'd look at John, not with pity, like most of us, not with fear, just with curiosity. An innocent, pure curiosity. Her mom would gently tug her hand. "Come on, sweetie," she'd say softly. And Lily would go, but she'd always look back. One sunny afternoon, I was sitting on a nearby bench, just reading. I saw Lily break away from her mom. For a moment, she walked right up to John's bench. My breath caught. What was she going to do? Her mom looked a little worried but didn't stop her. Lily didn't say a word. She just reached down, picked a little yellow dandelion, and carefully placed it on the edge of his bench. John didn't move, didn't even blink. Lily looked at him for a second, then skipped back to her mom. The dandelion stayed there all day. The next morning it was gone, swept away by the wind, I guessed, or maybe by John himself. But Lily didn't give up. A few days later she did it again. This time it was a shiny pebble she'd found. She put it in the same spot. John's reaction was the same. Nothing. The pebble also disappeared. This went on for a couple of weeks. A pretty leaf. A smooth stone. Once even a colorful bottle cap. Each time Lily would approach. Each time John would ignore her. Each time the little offering would vanish by the next day. We all watched. We wondered. Was this little girl just wasting her time? Was she too young to understand that this man was beyond reach? Then came the day. The day everything changed. It was a Tuesday. I remember because the library bookmobile was in the park. Lily was there with her mom, clutching a piece of paper. She looked more determined than usual. She walked over to John. He was staring off into the distance, lost in his own world. Lily stood in front of him. She held out the paper. "This is for you," she said. Her voice was small but clear. John didn't flinch. He didn't look at her. He didn't look at the paper. He just sat there, still as a statue. My heart sank a little. Poor Lily, she was trying so hard. Lily waited a moment. Then very gently, she placed the paper on the bench beside him. Not too close. Just near enough. She looked at him one last time, then turned and ran to her mother. The paper lay there, bright white against the weathered wood of the bench. John didn't acknowledge it. All afternoon, it sat there. The wind rustled it a few times, but it stayed put. I thought, well, that's that. Another kind gesture, lost in the silence. The next morning I walked through the park on my way to work. I glanced at the bench. John was there as usual. And the paper, it was still there. Untouched. My disappointment returned. But then as I got closer I saw something. John wasn't staring blankly ahead. His head was slightly tilted. He was looking at the paper. Just looking. I slowed my pace. I didn't want to disturb him. I watched from a distance. He kept looking at it. For a long time. Then I saw his shoulders begin to shake. Just a little at first. Then more. My eyes widened. Was he crying? It was hard to tell from so far away, but it looked like it. This man, this stone wall of a man, was shaking, slowly, so slowly. He reached out a hand that trembled. He picked up the paper. He held it carefully, like it was made of glass, like it was the most precious thing in the entire world. He brought it closer to his face. His head bowed, and then I knew for sure. He was crying. Silent tears streamed down his weathered cheeks. He wasn't just crying, he was sobbing, deep ragged sobs that shook his whole body. My own eyes started to water. I had no idea what was on that paper, but whatever it was, it had broken through. It had shattered the wall he'd built around himself. He sat there for a long time, clutching that piece of paper. When he finally looked up, his eyes were red-rimmed, but the storm in them, it looked different. The hardness was still there, but it was cracked. And through the cracks, I saw a raw, aching pain. And something else too. A tiny flicker. A spark. Later that day, Sarah, the social worker who had tried so many times, decided to approach him again. She told me she was nervous. She expected the usual dismissal. She walked up to him. He was still holding the paper. He looked up at her, and for the first time he didn't look away. He didn't grunt. He didn't scowl. He just looked at her. His eyes were full of a sorrow, so deep it made her ache. And then he spoke. His voice was raspy from disuse, hoarse. He said just 2 words, but those 2 words explained everything. My daughter. Sarah was stunned. She gently asked if he wanted to talk, and he did. Slowly, hesitantly, the story came out. His name really was John. He had served 2 tours overseas. He'd seen things, done things that haunted his sleep, things that changed him. When he came home, he wasn't the same man. He was angry, he was distant. He suffered from terrible PTSD, though he'd never admitted it then. He had a wife and a daughter, a little girl named Annie. She was about Lily's age when he last saw her. She loved to draw. She would always draw him pictures of him as a hero, pictures of their family, happy pictures. But he couldn't be the hero in her drawings. He couldn't be the husband his wife needed. He pushed them away. He was drowning in his pain, and he was pulling them down with him. Eventually his wife left. She took Annie with her. For their safety. For their sanity. John spiraled. He lost his job. His apartment. He ended up on the streets. He hadn't seen Annie in years. He carried so much guilt, so much shame. He felt he'd failed her, failed his family. He believed he deserved to be alone, deserved to suffer. And the drawing, what was on Lily's drawing, that had affected him so profoundly? Sarah managed to get a glimpse. It was a child's drawing, simple and sweet. It showed a soldier, not a fierce fighting soldier, but a soldier with a big bright yellow sun smiling down. And next to the soldier, holding his hands, were a stick figure woman, and a little stick figure girl, with a big red heart drawn between them. A family. Happy, whole. It was just like the drawings his Annie used to make. That little piece of paper, drawn by a girl he didn't know, had reached into the darkest part of his soul. It reminded him of what he'd lost, of who he used to be, and maybe, just maybe, who he could be again. The change in John was slow, but it was real. He started talking to Sarah regularly. He accepted a cup of coffee, then a hot meal at the diner. He even agreed to go to a temporary shelter. He was still guarded, still wounded, but the wall was down. Lily kept visiting. She didn't seem to notice the big change she'd caused. Or maybe she did, in her own innocent way. She'd come by with her mom. Sometimes she'd just sit quietly on the grass, near where John used to sit, drawing more pictures. Pictures of flowers, animals, sunshine. John, when he was still in the park, would watch her, and sometimes a very small, very sad smile would touch his lips. Our town watched this transformation with a sense of awe. We were humbled. A little girl, with her simple act of kindness, had succeeded where all our adult efforts had failed. Things started to get better for John. He was getting help for his PTSD. He was working with Sarah to find more permanent housing. He even started to talk about trying to find his ex-wife and Annie. He just wanted to know if they were okay. He didn't dare hope for more. One afternoon, Sarah was helping John sort through a small bag of belongings he'd kept with him all these years. Inside, tucked into an old worn wallet, was a faded photograph. It was a picture of a little girl, maybe 4 or 5 years old, with pigtails and a mischievous grin. Her eyes were bright and full of life. "That's her," John whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "That's my Annie." Sarah took the photograph. She looked at the smiling face of the little girl, and then a strange thought struck her. There was something familiar about those eyes. That smile. She thought of Lily. Could it be? No, that was too much of a coincidence, wasn't it? But the thought wouldn't leave her. Lily's mom, Laura, was a single mother. She'd moved to town a few years ago. Sarah knew her casually from school events. She decided to do some gentle, discreet checking. She found out Laura's maiden name. It matched the name of John's ex-wife. Sarah's heart started to pound. She looked up Lily's school records. Lily's full name. It was Lily Ann, the same middle name as John's daughter. It had to be. It just had to be. Sarah knew she had to handle this with extreme care. So many emotions were involved. She decided to speak to Laura first. She met her for coffee, showed her the old photograph of John, younger, happier, in his uniform. She gently explained who John was, his struggles, and his recent breakthrough. She told her about Lily's drawing. Laura listened, her face pale, tears welled in her eyes. She'd thought John was gone, not dead perhaps, but lost to his trauma forever. She'd moved away years ago to start fresh, to protect Lily from the fallout of John's pain. She'd told Lily that her father was a hero who had gotten lost after the war, and that they didn't know where he was. She never dreamed he was here, in the same town, suffering alone. The idea of a reunion was overwhelming. For both of them, Sarah helped them plan it carefully. It would be at the community center, a neutral place. John was a wreck of nerves. He'd shaved. He wore clean clothes. Sarah had helped him get. He paced back and forth. What if Annie didn't remember him? What if she hated him? Laura was also anxious. How would Lily react? Lily, however, was just excited. Her mom told her they were going to see her friend, Mr. John, and that her mom would be there too. When Laura walked in, John stopped pacing. He saw her, and years of pain, regret and a tiny spark of hope washed over his face. Laura's eyes filled with tears. So much time lost. Then Lily skipped in, holding a new drawing. She saw John. "Mr. John," she chirped happily. John knelt down. He looked at Laura, then at Lily, really looked at her, at her bright familiar eyes. He swallowed hard. "Annie," he whispered, using the pet name he'd always called his daughter. Lily tilted her head, a little confused. Then Laura knelt beside her, her voice gentle. "Lily, sweetie, Mr. John, he's your daddy." Lily's eyes went wide. She looked from her mom to John. She looked at the drawing he still clutched in his hand, her drawing of the soldier and his family. Understanding dawned on her small face. Slowly, she stepped towards him. "Daddy?" The word was so soft. A question, a hope. That one word broke John completely. But this time, it wasn't a shattering of despair. It was a release. A flood of emotion so powerful it brought him to his knees. He sobbed openly, freely, and Lily, without a moment's hesitation, ran into his outstretched arms. She hugged him tight. He buried his face in her hair, holding on to her as if she were his lifeline. And in many ways, she was. It wasn't a magical fix. Of course, life isn't like that. There was therapy for John, family counseling, many conversations, many tears. John had to work hard to rebuild his life, to earn back trust. He got a small apartment. He found a part-time job at a local hardware store. He and Laura learned to co-parent, to communicate, to heal the old wounds for Lily's sake, and for their own. But John had a reason now, a powerful, undeniable reason to keep fighting, to keep healing. He had his Annie back. And Lily got her daddy, the hero from her mom's stories, no longer lost. Our town learned a big lesson that year. We learned about not giving up on people, even when they seem unreachable. We learned about the incredible, unexpected power of simple, innocent kindness. And we learned that sometimes, the smallest hands, armed with nothing but a crayon and a piece of paper, can heal the biggest, most broken hearts. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What small act of kindness could you do today that might change someone's world? Thank you for watching this story. We hope it touched your heart as much as it touched ours. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What part of the story resonated with you the most? And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next story. Sharing this video also helps us reach more people with messages of hope and kindness. Until next time, take care.